Hello everybody, today we're going to be talking about nutrition labels. So we're going to start with the history of nutrition labels. Until about the mid-1960s, there really were no nutrition labels. Most of the foods were made at home, and so you had basic ingredients that you're purchasing at the store. And there were very little processed foods, and so they weren't really all that needed. In 1965, between 1965 and 1995, the time that American families spent cooking decreased by about 30% because of that introduction of more processed foods that helped save time. But with that, there were maybe some more needs for nutrition labels, and so in 1973, there were some guidelines set. These were voluntary nutrition labels, so companies did not have to put them on their product at this point. The only companies that did have to put nutrition labels on were companies that added ingredients to their product. So they added calcium or they added fiber to their product. Or if they were making some sort of nutrition claim that they were healthier, then they would also have to have that nutrition label on their product. In 1990, the Nutrition Labeling and Education Act was passed, and that did require all products to have a nutrition label on their packaging. In 1994, Nutrition Facts label was introduced, and so they gave that formatting that we've been seeing. In 2003, they did add to those requirements, adding trans fat to the list of requirements that needed to be on the nutrition label. In 2016, there was another reformat of the label, and we're going to be talking a little bit more about that in a little bit, but they amended the nutrition label to update it and make it a little bit more easy for customers to follow. And so those new regulations, in companies who made over $10 million in sales had until January 2018 to implement those new changes, print new packaging, make those new labels. Companies that made less than $10 million in sales, they had until July 2019 to make the changes to their packaging. So let's take a look at the comparison of what we've been used to the newest version of the Nutrition Facts. They are very similar. Bigger changes that you'll see at the top, you're going to see the serving sizes are more bold, and so they're standing out more. They have calories, again, are bold and will stand out more. They've added another portion to sugars. Instead of just being sugar, they want you to know if they're added sugars. And then they made some changes to the requirements for what vitamins and minerals need to be on the package. Serving size, like I said, is going to be more of a bold print. And they also changed the size to reflect more accurately what kind of serving sizes people are eating. It does not show what people should eat. It just shows a little bit better of a look at what people are probably going to eat. An example for ice cream, the previous serving size was half a cup. Now it's changed to 2/3 of a cup. Pop increased from 8 to 10 ounces, but you're going to see a lot of variety in different size containers that are really going to be a single serve. That most people, if you get a bottle of pop out of the pop machine, you're probably going to consume that all yourself. And so anything that would be 12 or 20 ounces would be labeled as a single serving as well. And that shows a lot of information instead of having to figure out in the single serve bottle what my nutrition information would be. Calories, again, are bold. It's got that larger font so that it stands out. And that way you know exactly how much you're eating per serving. Remember, it's per serving, so if you eat more than that one single serving, then you have to increase all of the nutrition information on that package so that you can see what you're actually getting. Calories from fat was taken off of the label, and basically that is because they decided that it's really more important to know the type of fat versus how much calories you're getting from the fat. You're looking for foods that have less saturated fat and more unsaturated fats, because the unsaturated fats are healthier. The percent daily values, as you'll see on the side of the label, on this one it's highlighted in blue, those are the percent of the nutrients that you're getting in one serving if you need 2,000 calories per day. If you need more or less than that, it's going to be a little bit different for you, but it gives you a rough estimate of how close you are at getting the right amount of those ingredients. Your needs might be higher or lower. Like I said, it kind of depends on your height, your weight, your gender, how active you are, how much of those nutrients you'll need. There are some new dietary recommendations, so they updated the numbers so that they could get the correct percentages. And basically looking at those, if you have a daily value that's 5% or less, that's considered low. If you have a daily value that's 20% or more, that's considered high. And so you really do want to consider, for looking at that percent daily value, if it's something that's good for you, a vitamin, a mineral, protein, calcium, vitamin D, potassium, then you want it to be 20% or more, because then you're getting a good amount of that nutrient. But for things like saturated fats, sodium, cholesterol, added sugars, it's good to be on that lower end. So 5% or less would be a good number to shoot for. Nutrients of concern, again, the things that you're looking at that you want to make sure you don't get too much of. So you want to try to consume 100% of the daily values or less of those nutrients. It gives the amounts for things like total fat as well as the different types of fat. So you're getting at 100% or less of the daily value for fat, for cholesterol, for sodium, for sugars, so that you're not getting too much of those nutrients that we probably as Americans get way too much of. Like I said, the new label now has total sugar, but it also has added sugar, so that you can see the difference between sugars that are naturally occurring in that food versus sugar that was added to that food. And obviously naturally occurring sugars are going to be healthier versus those added sugars that are really adding calories with no nutritional value. You also want to look at, for saturated fat, sodium, added sugars, that you're getting the low categories of those, so that less than 5% of your daily value. Now let's look at the things that you do need in your diet. So the vitamins and minerals. And so you want to get at least 100% of the daily value for those. Things like vitamin D, calcium, iron, potassium, protein, those are good for you, and you want to make sure you're consuming enough of them. So you're looking at that higher end of the greater than 20% of your daily value for those types of vitamins and minerals. Any idea what kind of food this is? There's a lot of vitamins and minerals that have at least 20% of the daily value for this. It is cereal. Cereals have a lot of added vitamins and minerals, so that you can hopefully help reduce nutrition deficiencies that people aren't getting enough. Why it's added to cereal is because it's a pretty inexpensive food, and it's usually available to anyone, so you're getting those added nutrients. It is fortified into the cereal. It doesn't naturally occur that way, but there is a lot of nutrients that can be added to that cereal in the form of basically sprayed on vitamins. Sometimes you're going to see nutrition labels that have a double column, and that is usually in products that have more than one serving per container, but they could be consumed in either one serving or multiple servings. So it's showing and giving you more information of here's what you'd get if you actually eat that single serving. So in the case of the one on the screen, 3 pretzels, if that's all you're eating, you get that 110 calories. But if you're consuming all 3 servings in that container, then you would be getting the servings per container of 330 calories per for that food. Now you could do that on your own if you know that there are 3 servings of pretzels in the container and you're eating the whole thing yourself. You could take the numbers for that single serving and triple it or double it or whatever it is that you're consuming so that you know the correct amounts of those foods or those nutrients that you're getting. And that helps. Having those double columns, it helps so you don't have to do that math and you can kind of see for yourself what you're actually consuming and what kind of nutrients and vitamins you're getting. Okay, so let's review. So at the top of your nutrition label, you're going to see in the blue section, according to this label, is the serving size. So for 1 serving of this food, you can eat 1 cup. If you eat the entire package, you're going to have 4 servings in that package. So if you eat 4 cups, all of the nutrition information for that product is 4 times what you see there. Next, you're going to see the calories. That's on this label in pink. And so that gives you the calories per serving. Again, if you would consume more than 1 serving, you would have to increase that number. The nutrients in yellow, you're going to start out with the nutrients that you need less of, things like fat and cholesterol and sodium and sugar. So you're looking at hopefully getting your daily value of 5% or less from that food, because you don't want to have a lot of foods that are high in those types of nutrients that you really have to watch to make sure you're not getting too much of. And then you're going to find the nutrients that you need to get more of. Things like the vitamins and the minerals, vitamin D, calcium, iron, potassium. And those are ones that would be really good to find foods that are 20% or more, so high in those nutrients. Again, you do have to watch how many servings you're consuming. So for example, at the bottom, sodium. If 1 serving is 37% of your daily value of sodium, and you don't really want to go over that 100%, you'd like to get less than that, you have to watch what you're consuming. Because if you have 2 servings of that same food, you're now up to 74% of the sodium that you need for the day at your maximum. And then you still have all kinds of other meals and snacks that you'll probably be eating. So you want to watch to make sure you're not getting too much of that in 1 serving of 1 product for 1 meal. So a lot of times people kind of wonder, how can I quickly look at a product and that nutrition label and sort out and see, is it a healthy food? And so we're going to give this food some points just as an example of how I could determine if there's any nutritional value to that food. So in this case, yes, 20% is high, but we're going to go for more of a good source of. So the nutrients, if it's 10% or more of the daily value of any of the nutrients we have on this list, we're going to give it a point. So if the food has any points left at the end, it has nutritional value. So first we're going to look at calcium. And so if you look towards the bottom of that label, for 1 serving of this product, you get 15% of your daily need for calcium. So that's pretty good. So we're going to go ahead and give that a point because it's more than the 10%. Next, we're going to look for fiber. And on this label, it says dietary fiber. It's the same thing. For dietary fiber, it's 0%. So it's not a good source of fiber at all. It's not a source of fiber at all. So we're not going to give it a point for fiber. So we still only have 1 point. Next is protein, and protein on this label is 34%, so that's a good source. And so we're going to go ahead and give it a point for protein. And then iron. If you look towards the bottom, it has 0% iron, so no points for iron. Vitamin D is at, again, 0%, so it doesn't get a point for vitamin D. And then the last one we're going to look at is potassium, and that's at 4%. So again, still not high enough to give it a point. So at this point, in step 1, this food has 2 points, which means there is some nutritional value so far. But we want to make sure the nutrients balances out with the things that we have to watch. So for the second part, we're going to look at either fat grams or calories. We don't really need to look at both, but we're going to go ahead and do that for this example. So if we look at fat grams, we're going to take away a point if the daily value of fat is 10% or more than 10%. Now, if it's 10%, you might want to think, oh, well, that's kind of borderline. Let's look at the other. But for this one, it has 0% of our daily value for fat, so we wouldn't take away a point for that. Now, if we decide to look at calories instead, or if fat was kind of borderline and we wanted maybe something a little more solid, we could look at calories. And so calories, if it is more than 200 calories per serving, we would take away a point. Now for this yogurt label, it is 90 calories per serving, so we wouldn't have to take away a point either way. You don't take away 2 points, so with this food, we would at least have a point left if we would have had to have taken away a point. But that means there is some nutritional value. Now, if you don't remember all of those nutrients of which ones do you have points for, if you look at down the list of the nutrients and the percentage for their daily value, if you have quite a few of them that are 10% or more of the good things that you need, then it probably has some nutritional value. If you have quite a few that are high, if it's high in calories or high in fat, then does it balance out? And so those are the kind of things that you'd be looking at to kind of quickly get, is this something that would have some nutritional value? So we're going to be looking at some sample nutrition labels to get some practice with using that information so that we can get a feel for knowing exactly how much of the nutrients we're getting and if we're getting enough. So as you look at these nutrition labels, if you have any questions or you're not sure about something, please ask. And we'll see you tomorrow. Have a great day.